Will Trump tariffs tank the U.S. housing market, or is this secretly creating an opportunity for real estate investors? First, what is a tariff? So a lot of people don't even know that, or like, why tariffs? Tariffs are just taxes that are placed on imported goods. Why the tariffs are there at all? There is some type of a national security type of threat where you need a strong domestic manufacturing base in some sectors like defense, pharmaceuticals, and technology, so that you're not reliant on other nations, especially during times of any type of war or threat. Here's what you're going to feel as a real estate investor. There are going to be higher construction costs. One of the biggest impacts of tariffs is on the cost of building materials. Construction companies will have to pay more for essential supplies. Higher costs don't just affect developers, they trickle down to buyers and renters. You're going to see slower home building. This is another thing. The effects of slowed home building conclude in fewer affordable housing options, especially in growing cities. So think about your sister cities, the cities that are next to the big cities. They're going to be growing because as things get more expensive, people are going to choose the alternative, the cheaper city. So you will get increased rental prices as well. A slowdown in home construction typically leads to more demand for rentals. If fewer new homes are available, more people will be forced to rent. Not enough homes to buy, giving landlords more leverage to raise prices. This trend could be particularly tough on lower income renters, so the people who need affordable housing the most. If wages don't keep up with rising rent prices, affordability could become an even bigger issue. Renters may need to consider alternative solutions like co-living. That's interesting. They're even calling it out. Yeah, so the Fed. I think this is going to be temporary. Some of the Fed officials also think a lot of this stuff is going to be temporary, and it's important because if it's temporary, it's less of a big deal on long-term inflation. What's interesting about some of the Fed sentiment is Governor Waller, he's on the Fed. If a recession appears to be taking shape, Mr. Waller said he would support the Fed cutting interest rates sooner and to a greater extent than initially expected. I would say even a recession would only be positive for people who already have a portfolio and who've already been building and who are already in the game. If you're in the game now and we run into a recession and rates start falling to greater extents than initially expected, that could be very positive for like refinancing, locking in lower rates. This could open up a 2-year window that maybe by some gift of the real estate gods, you receive, a DSCR loan with a 4 in front of it, 4.75. And your property's now cash flowing $1,000 a month, but maybe 10 of them are because you've been building. This is that window. Or if you're primed, if you're in a position, if you've been studying up and you've gotten some momentum, you've gotten your first deal under your belt, a window like this opens up for 2 years because of the perfect storm of economic conditions, and you run like a bear for 1 year, you could grab 25 properties. Even as a relative novice with the right game plan in the right market. This is creating a lot of opportunities for investors. I think co-living might be a sleeper. But that's like if it gets ugly. If we really get into a recession, a global recession, co-living is going to go crazy. So lots of opportunities, guys, lots of things to think about. But one thing you can never think about is, one, can you do this? Yes, you can do it. You can do it. You can do it part-time. The average property, part-timing it, probably once you set it up to do your first deal, will it require some effort? I'm sure. It's going to require you building some muscles that you haven't built before. But once you get a property set up, it's about an hour a month worth of work.